Hello, future homeowners. I am so excited to be here as part of your homebuyer education class, and I just can't tell you how much my passion is lying with you and your first time homebuyer experience. And it might not just be your first home, it might be your first investment property, it might be your first condo, it might be your first second home, it might be your first fourplex. Any of these just thrill me to be part of this experience with you. Now, one of the things I want to ask you today, though, is what the heck does all of this mean? 680, 725, 450, 812, 678, 720. What does all of that mean to you? Well, that might mean your future. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, what is your credit score? I want you to close your eyes for just a second and imagine this with me. Go ahead, close your eyes. Now, I want you to imagine traveling down that street of your perfect neighborhood. Well, someone else is driving because your eyes are closed, right? I want you to imagine what that neighborhood looks like. I want you to imagine pulling into the driveway of that home, that you see the yard, and it's exactly what you dreamed of. You walk up to the front door and you can just imagine all your friends and family walking in that front door into your home. I want you to imagine opening up that door after a long day of work, what you're going to see. You've got the perfect home. You've got the number of bedrooms that you wanted, the number of bathrooms, that kitchen that you can just imagine cooking your family meals in. You've got the right neighborhood. You're near the right schools if you have children, or maybe not near the right schools if you don't have children. And this is it. It's in the right price range. You know you can afford the payments. You have a good job. Your income is steady. You have enough money to close. You've been working hard at this for a long time. And the realtor says, okay, go to your lender. Make sure that you get your pre-qualification letter, bring it back to me, and we'll write up the offer on this home. You maybe have a little bit of anticipation just because you're having to go have somebody else tell you yes or no. But you pay your bills on time, you know that you're in pretty good shape as far as credit goes, and you feel this is all right. This is going to work. So you could walk into your lender, you sit down, and that your lender says, yes, your income is perfect. Yes, this price range is perfect. Here's your monthly payments. You can afford them. It's almost what you're paying in rent. So what the heck could go wrong except your dreams are blown because your credit score doesn't equal what the loan program requires. So what happened? What's going on? That's what we're going to talk about today. How do you make sure this dream never gets blown? All right, open your eyes. Everybody stand up, shake it out. I got a little exercise for you. Stand up. Go ahead, stand up. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to hold out your arms straight out, thumbs up in the air, and I want you to clap once. All right, take your arms out. Now, raise your right hand, and I want you to cross it over your left wrist. Now, invert your hands so your thumbs are pointing down, and clasp your fingers. Now, the important thing here to make sure of is that your right thumb is hanging down. No, your right thumb. I need your right thumb hanging. There you go. Okay, right thumb hanging down. Now, how does this feel? This feels just a little bit uncomfortable. It feels a little awkward. It feels like you don't know what to do next. You aren't quite sure how to get out of this. So how come it is that some people can just easily get out of this and point their fingers forward? And they can make things happen for their future. Well, I believe that part of the reason for this is knowledge. And I believe if you have the knowledge to make things happen, then your future will have a clear path. So, what I want to talk to you today about is credit scoring. And I'm here to tell you that this is such an important factor in your life, not only for this mortgage loan to buy this first home for you, but for a lot of other areas in your life. So, you have in front of you a pamphlet and you have a little handout. So what I want to talk to you about is the 5 factors that affect your credit score. Let's talk about the very first one. The first one is your payment history. Now this makes sense, right? How well do you pay your bills? How come though, if you pay your bills every month on time, that you don't have an 850 credit score, which is the very highest that you can possibly get? I can also tell you that in 30 years of doing mortgage loans, I have never seen an 850 credit score. So what is a good credit score? Well, anything over 620 to 640 gives you the opportunity to buy a home. But that doesn't mean that it's without consequences. If you have a 740 or higher credit score, you're going to fit into the best bucket of loan programs. So how does this payment history work? Well, the payment history is 35% of your credit score, as it says right there in your pamphlets. And here's a couple of things I need you to know. If you have, say, a credit card that has a minimum $15 payment and a car loan that has a $300 payment, if you make a late payment on that $15 credit card versus the $300 car payment, you're going to see a bigger hit on your credit score with that higher payment versus the lower payment if you're more than 30 days late. Now I need you to keep that in mind, because just because you may pay a late fee if you're more than 15 days late, unless you're more than 30 days late, it will not report on your credit report as a late payment. The higher your payment, the bigger the hit on your credit score. If you go more than 30 days late, and you go to 60 or 90 days late, then you're going to see a bigger hit with the longer the late payment is. And if you end up having that account go into a collection account, or even worse, a judgment, you're going to see more points for the more severe that the late payment is. So within that 35% tier or category of your credit score, the bigger the payment, the harder the hit. The longer or the more delinquent that payment is, the bigger the hit. The other thing that's important to know is that if you're going to have any late payments, whatever happens in the most recent 12 months has a bigger impact than 12 to 24 months. And once the account is more than 24 months old, it has less and less and less effect on your credit score. So once you have a late payment that's more than 24 months old, then it's not going to impact you near as much as that first 1 to 12 months is. As a lender, we look very closely at what's happened in the most recent 12 months. Let's look at the next factor. The next factor is your balance to limits on your revolving credit cards. Now this does not count for your installment loans. So if you have a car loan, then your car loan starts off here and you're expected to pay until that car loan is paid off. With a revolving credit card, you have a limit of this, and depending on what you owe compared to that limit, will have a 30% effect on your credit score. Now remember, your credit payment history is 35% of your score. The balance compared to your limit is 30% of your score. This 30% out of a maximum of 850 points is 255 points of your score. And you know what? If you don't have a credit card at all, you will never get a score over 650 points, because you've got 255 points of your score is ranked on what you owe compared to your limit on that credit score. So here's what I want you to write down. You have this in your pamphlets in front of you in the handouts, but if you owe between 10 and 30% of your limit, then you're going to see your score go way up. So if you have a $1,000 credit card limit and you owe between $100 and $300 of that limit, you're going to see your score rise up very nicely. If you owe between 30 and 50% of your limit, you will see your score go up, but not near as much as if you owe that 10 to 30% of your limit. So if you have a credit card with a limit of $1,000 and you owe between $300 and $500, you will see your score go up, but not near as much as if you owe that 10 to 30%. Now, once you owe between 50 and 75% of your limit, so on that $1,000 card, if you owe between $500 and $750, you're going to start seeing your score go down. And if you owe between 75 and 100% of your limit, so on that $1,000 card, if you owe between $750 and $1,000, you are going to see your score drop right down to the floor. And you know what? If you owe $1,001 on that card, it's like credit score death. You're going to see your score plummet more than 100 points, I can guarantee you. Now here's something that a lot of people don't understand. When you get your credit card statement in the mail, if you owe, or when you look at that statement, it's going to say, here's your activity from this beginning date to this ending date. And you need to make a minimum payment by this due date way out here. Now, when you know that statement ending date, you're going to know that that's the date they print the statement, they mail it to you, you get it a few days later, you look at it, you either make a minimum payment or whatever payment you want to, and then they post that payment. But that credit statement ending date is the date that they report to the credit bureaus. So if you know you're over that 10 to 30% limit of that credit card, then you're going to want to know what that statement ending date is, and you're going to want to make that payment 3 or 4 days before that statement ending date, not that due date way out there, but that statement ending date, so that that payment can post before they report to the credit bureaus. I had a customer. She was employed with a big major corporation. He was a self-employed commercial fisherman. They had 5 joint credit cards together. Her company offered as an employee benefit a credit card that would allow them to transfer all of their balances to this new card at 0 interest, 0 charges for 24 months. So with these 5 cards, they owed $18,000. She was offered a brand new card for $20,000, and they transferred all 5 of these credit cards onto this brand new card. Her name was the only one on this card, his name was not. I pulled up their joint credit report. They were looking to refinance their home. When I pulled up their joint credit report, his credit score was 724. Her credit score was 623, 101 points lower than his. Even though they had been married for years, they had all the same joint accounts. His name was not on her new credit card, and her new credit card showed $18,000 owed against that $20,000 limit. 101 points it dropped her credit score. She was so angry. This makes every bit of sense to change from these high interest rate cards to this low interest rate or 0% interest rate card for 24 months to get rid of that balance. So in our real world, this makes perfectly good sense.